Do you need language to think? Do you need a language like your mother tongue or English or some other language? Do you think in English? Do you think in Kannada, Tamil, Malayalam, Hindi? So when I ask you these questions, it's not like there's a one particular correct answer I want you to come to, and maybe not even a correct answer all of you should come to, right? I want you to think about them and explore different answers. Even if your friend is having a different answer, sit down and try and see maybe why others are saying something else. And again, the point is not to say who's right or wrong, but what we can learn about your own capacity for thinking through that. That's really the main point. And remember that thinking is important because it's the most common thing we do in our life. It's not just about school subjects. You're not thinking only in your school. You're thinking all the time. You're thinking when you get up in the morning, thinking what to eat, what to wear, how you're going to go to the school. And when your teacher is speaking, you're looking out of the window and thinking, how can I get the mango from the tree? So all the time you're thinking, and thought keeps coming into your head, whether you like it or not. If you're sitting and listening to your teacher, suddenly some thought comes into your head saying, oh, yesterday's cricket match was so nice. Nobody can stop it. So we need to understand what is this mechanism and process of thinking. So let us understand what happens to you when you think. So take a simple example. Let us say there is a tree, a mango tree outside your classroom, and the teacher is talking. You're looking at the mango tree and you're thinking, oh God, I want to eat those mangoes. I want to remove those mangoes from the tree. And then you look at all the mangoes and see one mango seems to be ripe, and you're thinking how you can pluck it without getting caught. So what do you do? What did you do when you are thinking about all this? When this thinking was happening in your mind or wherever it is happening, what was actually happening? So let's look at one possibility, okay? When you are thinking, it probably went like this. First, you told yourself, those mangoes look nice, I want to eat one of them. Then you had another thought, which was telling yourself, how am I going to get that mango without somebody seeing me? Then you had another thought, which is also a sentence like this. Maybe I can ask the chowkidar and he can give me the mangoes. So you see what you did when you are thinking. Some might say what you are doing when you're thinking is that you are talking to yourself. That is all. This is true for most of the thinking that we do. If you ask yourself, what I want to eat for lunch? What colored dress am I going to wear today? Who am I going to go out with the movie? What food am I going to order in the hotel? Whenever you're talking about all of this stuff, you're basically talking to yourself, just like you're talking to your friend. And that's so interesting about thinking. It's not that all thinking is talking to yourself, but think about you, look at it for yourself. Explore yourself. Don't look for some common answers to all of us. See if most times when you think, are you talking to yourself? Or is it that there are times in which when you say you're thinking, you're basically talking to yourself? And if you're talking to yourself, there's something very interesting about this, because you talk to yourself just like you talk to your friend. But the difference is when you talk to your friend, the friend hears what you're saying. But when you talk to yourself, in other words, when you're thinking, only you can hear yourself. So can we say this? Can we say that thinking is talking and arguing with yourself? Could we say that? Does it seem to fit your own thinking? Do the experiment and see. And if you do that, and you have to ask yourself this question, what language were you talking to yourself in? Were you talking to yourself in your mother tongue? Were you talking to yourself in English or Hindi or some other language? So, for example, when a teacher asks you to think about a mathematics problem, let us say some division, and you're thinking about it, what do you actually do? It might go something like this. For each of you, it may be different, and you will have to become aware of it. Pay attention to what you do. So, for example, some of you might first look at the problem, Then you think about it. What does thinking about it mean? Thinking about it is talk to yourself about it. You ask yourself, oh, this is a problem of division. How do I divide a 4-digit number? That's a question. You're asking yourself, you're talking to yourself. But see what is happening is, look at this wonderful puzzle here. The difficulty about thinking is that you are the one who asks the question, and you are the one who also has to give the answer. There's no teacher, there's no textbook to give you the answer. You have to, when you're thinking, you think you're very clever, you ask a question. But if you're thinking about something, you have to supply the answer. How do I do that? So think about this. Look at what an interesting thing this whole thinking is really all about. Because when you think, you are being both a student and teacher at the same time. Because you are a student because you're asking, you want to know. And you're a teacher because you're supposed to give solution to it. Because you don't know what to do. You are thinking about, should I catch a bus or should I go walk home? Now it looks like it's going to rain. Now who is going to answer that to you? You're asking a question. Somebody, you yourself has to answer that. And every time you think, you are like your teacher since you're answering your own questions. And therefore, you have to pay attention to this. Pay attention to the language in which you speak. Because many times students say, oh, I'm not able to think. I don't know how to think. It's not that you don't know how to think. All of us are born with the same capacity to think. But it is just the tools by which we think. If we speak to ourselves in some language, then you can ask, am I speaking to myself in English or Kannada or Tamil or Malayalam or Hindi? Or do I speak to myself in different languages? Do I speak to myself in English when I'm doing mathematics or science, but I speak to myself in Kannada when I'm doing social sciences and art? Could it be the case? We don't know. You have to explore and see what the answer is. Can we say that because you talk to yourself in Kannada, you're also thinking in Kannada? Right? So, when you talk in more than one language, this is true for most of our students in India, which language is best used for your thinking? So pay attention to it. The problem many times with thinking is not that you don't know how to think. Problem is because you may not be using language correctly when you think, or you are not using the correct language to think. So you have to think about this question. How can you think better? Is it by improving your language? Will that help? In general, yes, of course it will help because it will give you more ideas, concepts, and so on. But it is not that you think in one language better than in another language. It only depends on how you use that language. Some of you might say, well, when I think, I'm not really using language, I'm not talking to myself, I'm seeing images. Yes, for some types of thinking, language is not needed. If you're thinking what to draw in the art class, you might see images of pictures inside you. In music, sometimes when you're thinking about what song to sing, you might hear the tune inside you. But in all these cases, notice that thinking is something happening inside you, and only you know what you are seeing inside you, what you're hearing inside you, or when you're talking to yourself. So, not all thinking is about language, but sometimes, like we see in sound or singing and dance, they're very different. For example, if you're playing cricket, you do not think and hit a shot. If Kohli is thinking of how to hit a shot, he's not stopping, seeing the ball and saying, oh, now I'm going to hit like that and hit it. He knows, in his case, the whole body is thinking. The body decides to do. Similarly, therefore, many scholars call this as, the thinking body, because it's not that supposedly the mind thinks and then the body acts. When a dancer is dancing, when a footballer is passing the ball and running to receive it, it's not that they're calculating how much speed I should go to catch the ball, etc. They are very clear. The body thinks and acts just like a dancer. They're not thinking, they're just acting in some sense. So one would say that the body itself thinks. So you can now see with this short introduction, I wanted you to explore what your own capacity for thinking is, what you do when you think, and pay more attention to it. So when you have a problem in thinking, Try and find out what is it in this process that is causing an obstacle to you, rather than telling yourself, oh, I am not a good thinker, I don't know how to think, because that is not true at all. All of us have the same capacity to think, whether you're Einstein or whether you're a student in one of our classes.
The lesson you just heard was conducted by Professor Sundar Sarukkai. It is drawn from the book Philosophy for Children, Thinking, Reading and Writing by Sundar Sarukkai, published by Ektara Trust. Link to buy the book is in the video description below. This series is a production of Barefoot Philosophers, an initiative to bring philosophy to the public and children. For more information, visit our website at www.barefootphilosophers.com.